There are voices that don't just sing, they bleed. Layne Staley's voice was one of them. A haunting cry wrapped in distortion, echoing from the dark corners of Seattle's grunge era. He sang about decay, addiction, and loss, and slowly became the very things he warned us about. Before the world knew him as the frontman of Alice in Chains, Layne was just another restless kid from Kirkland, Washington. He dreamed big, loved hard, and carried a sadness he couldn't name. In the late 1980s, Seattle was an electric storm, sound and rebellion mixing with cigarette smoke and basement amps. Layne's voice cut through it all, raspy, soulful, aching. It was the kind of sound you didn't just hear. You felt it. When Facelift dropped in 1990, it was raw energy. But it was dirt. 2 years later, that cemented Alice in Chains as the soundtrack of pain. Songs like Down in a Hole and Wood weren't just hits, they were confessions. Layne wasn't acting. He was bleeding on tape. Fame didn't heal Layne, it exposed him. The spotlight only made his shadows longer. Addiction crept in quietly, first as escape, then as cage. Heroin became the companion that never left. Bandmates watched him fade, first from the stage, then from life itself. Demry Parrott, the love of his life, was the only one who understood his pain. But love can't outlast the storm. When she died in 1996, something inside him died too. After that, Layne disappeared. No tours. No press. Just silence. Friends say he spent his days in a dark apartment in Seattle, windows sealed, blinds drawn. A man once adored by millions, now haunted by ghosts and regrets. On April 19, 2002, the world finally learned what many had feared. Layne Staley was gone. His body was found 2 weeks after his death. He had been alone all that time. He was 34. But his voice never died. It still lingers, in the riffs of Rooster, the sorrow of Nutshell, the confession of Down in a Hole. Layne once said, "I wrote about drugs, and I didn't think I was being preachy. I didn't think people would walk away and say, I'm going to do drugs because he does them." He wasn't glorifying addiction. He was warning us. And in that warning, he gave us honesty, the kind that costs everything. Layne Staley's life was not just tragedy. It was art, raw and unfiltered. It was the echo of a man trying to stay alive in a world that celebrated his pain. His voice remains, not just in the records, but in the quiet moments when someone feels alone, lost, and misunderstood. Because in the end, Layne's greatest song wasn't about dying. It was about feeling. And somewhere, his voice still echoes, through the tragedy he left behind.